Hello, everybody. This is Lucy Nathanson, child therapist and founder of ConfidentChildren.co.uk. How are you all? It has been a while. So, I wanted to do a Facebook Live today to jump in and say hello, but also to discuss how social isolation has impacted children with selective mutism and some considerations moving forward. So, as we've all been very much affected by the pandemic and crucially the lockdowns, we spent a lot of time at home. And during my sessions with families, and I'd love if you can share your experiences in the comments section below as we discuss this important topic, how your children have responded to this time of social isolation. So what I found through my online sessions with families, as you know, I talk to parents of children with selective mutism every single day, and there's been lots of different responses, and it's quite interesting because lots of families, and please share your experience, but lots of families have said to me that their child has actually felt better at home, ironically. So their child's actually felt better at home, not having to go to school, not go mixing with the outside world. They've actually felt a lot more comfortable. And this makes sense because the outside world is anxiety inducing for children with selective mutism, and perhaps being at home has taken away that need to speak to people, that need to live up to those social pressures of societal pressures where we're expected to be in a certain way, and which children with selective mutism struggle with. Simple things like that we think are simple things, like in this, bumping into a neighbor in the street, or bumping into a friend in the supermarket, or maybe a lady in the supermarket asking the child a question and putting the child on the spot. These almost mundane, normal things peak children with selective mutism's anxiety levels. So it makes sense that many children have actually felt better with that all being taken away and just being at home in their safety bubble with the people they're comfortable talking to. So please share in the comments below firstly, how have your children responded to this period of social isolation? It'll be just great to hear how children have experienced this. But for those children who have felt actually more comfortable being in their safety environment and not having to go out, to go to school, to be exposed to all these situations that are likely to pique their anxiety, going back to the outside world, now that the world is actually opening up, this is likely to potentially be an even bigger struggle for children with selective mutism. They've been in this almost cocoon, the safety cocoon potentially, for the past year, and now having to have social interactions with people, suddenly having to have these going to social events, perhaps family gatherings that have been on pause for a while. These are likely to be even more potentially scary for children with selective mutism. So we need to be really mindful of this. We need to think, I'd say we need to keep in mind that just because our children may have been comfortable in some situations pre-pandemic, they may struggle with these because of the long gap. So children with selective mutism may struggle with re-entering the world and having contact with people. So I'd say let's keep this in mind. And when we're, if we're having family gatherings now, if you're having, meeting with people, just keep in mind to break situations down into steps for your child. Perhaps not, going from 0 to 100, perhaps not, going from this isolated safety bubble to suddenly meeting lots of people. Keep in mind that this is likely to be really overwhelming for children with SM. So let's take it step by step. And also keep in mind that even if a child was verbal with, let's say, auntie pre-COVID, after a long gap, we can't expect our children, unfortunately, to continue where they left off. It might be the case that children with selective mutism may find it difficult to even talk to people they spoke to pre-COVID. So we need to keep this in mind and maybe even go a few steps back. Let's brief those people and tell them that, you know, please, when you see my child, don't expect them to talk to you straight away. You know, be friendly, say hello, nice to see you, but perhaps not to put the spotlight on the child with SM. Just be mindful to give them that space to warm up. You might even have to have some fading in or sliding in sessions with people that your child previously spoke to, you know, extended family members, just to gradually introduce the person again, to reintroduce a person. And if we take these steps, and if we just kind of plan situations through ahead of the situation, and we figure out what will make this reintroduction as least scary as possible for my child. What can I do to help my child feel as comfortable as possible going into this situation? If your child is, let's say, more comfortable with children than adults, maybe let's have a play date with a cousin to begin with, because we know that my child is more comfortable with their cousins. Let's have a play date with the cousin before we introduce, before auntie comes over or uncle comes over. So we're just figuring out how can we make this reintroduction into the world as easy as possible for your child with SM. And just keep in mind that, you know, they've been in this protected world of, you know, being with the people they're most comfortable with, parents, siblings, and now going back into the world, the wider world, is likely to be really difficult for lots of children with SM. So let's be aware of this and not have expectations. It's really important not to have expectations that they'll carry on where they left off, and to just plan for situations. I can see there are some comments. So one parent says that her son gets really aggressive if he's asked to speak in class. I'd say that this is understandable because it's likely to be really, really scary for him. You know, when aggression is him going into that fight, flight, freeze response, the fight part. If it's, you know, he's put in a situation where he's asked to speak, if he's unable to do that, he shouldn't be put in that situation. It might be a good idea to speak to the class teacher and discuss what we should be expecting your child to do, and we should never ever be expecting a child to do something that's outside of their reach, because this is setting them up for failure, and that is not going to be conducive with them making steps forward. We always want to be setting children up for success so they can do it, and that's by planning ahead, figuring out what is an achievable step for my child and not prompting them something outside of their achievable goal. So if we are prompting them something outside of their goal, like being asked a question to speak in front of the class, if they can't do it, the child will probably go into fight, flight, freeze response. In this parent's case, he's going into fight response. He's becoming aggressive, which is his very understandable reaction to this situation. Other children will go into freeze response. Another parent says that her son has been thriving with homeschooling and even speaking to teachers, showing more confidence, but we're really concerned how he'll react to going back into the classroom. That's another thing. Some children with SM have actually responded really well to the online schooling situation. And I think that's because they're at home, they're in their environment, perhaps parent is with them, so they feel more comfortable in this space. Whereas other children have found the online learning even more challenging because it's very intrusive with everybody on the screen, let's say. So I found that children have really had different reactions to this, and the children who have actually responded well to the online schooling, some of them have even, if you know, some situations teachers have had some one-to-one fading in sessions online, and children have actually responded really well to these. And quite a few of the parents I've worked with, they said that their children have had real breakthroughs online, which is really, really positive. But at the same time, we can't expect that this will just translate automatically to the real world. We need to, if possible, repeat the same steps in real life. in a very graded way, setting our children up for success. So the title of this video, thank you for everyone sharing, and please feel free to carry on sharing your experiences in the comments below. So, you know, how has social isolation impacted your child? How has your child responded to being at home? Has it been a kind of a safety bubble for your child? And now perhaps your child is finding it even scarier to leave the house and saying that I want to stay at home because they feel comfortable at home. For some children, this is their response because it's a natural instinct to avoid doing something that is very uncomfortable. Other children may have struggled not having exposure with the outside world. So please share how your children have responded to this. So I would say for those situations, just rounding up here, for those children who have felt better at home, and from my experience talking to families, many children have felt better at home and their anxiety has been lower because they haven't had to be exposed to situations that are scary. I think we need to think about why. Why is it such a relief for children with selective mutism to be away from the world? What does this suggest about our world? Is our world too pressured? Do we have expectations? Are there social expectations that shouldn't be so concrete? So can we create a world where children don't feel happy to escape from? Can we create a world where there isn't this expectation for us to be in a certain way, where children are not pressured to be in a certain way, where there's an understanding, non-judgmental, non-pressured world? And that is the goal, really, to create a world where, you know, children can go out and people understand that there are differences, and if a child isn't able to answer, we don't make those unhelpful comments. We accept this is where they're at, and that's okay. And what we find is that when we create this non-pressured environment and we kind of act like it's all right if you find it hard, it's okay if you don't respond right now. You know, if a child has an aunt or an uncle or a teacher who really acts, even though of course we inside we have an intervention plan moving forward, but to the child we act as though, you know, it's okay if you don't talk to me. We can have lots of fun without that. You know, there's so many things we can do without needing to talk. And the adult just chats away and acts really, just chats to the child and takes away that pressure. Those are the situations where the child often surprises us with those breakthroughs. So it would be amazing if people understood selective mutism more, and this is why we're constantly raising awareness of SM. We want to create a world where the child doesn't feel more happy because they're at home away from all of that. We want to create a world where children can go out and there isn't that pressure, there isn't that expectation, where they can feel comfortable either in their house or outside their house, in their house or at school. So the key message here is we want to really brief people in our child's life to create this comfort world even outside their house. We want everybody to be taking away the pressure and helping our children to feel comfortable wherever they are. So I hope it's been useful for you to watch this video. I was just having a think earlier, really, thinking, how has social isolation impacted children with selective mutism? And ironically, lots of children, again, please share your experience, but lots of children have actually preferred being at home. And then I thought, why is this? Is it because outside they're asked questions before they're ready? Is it because people make unhelpful comments and try and push them to talk? Can we stop these things so that they're happy even outside the home? And also, the last message was going back into the world. we can't expect our children to continue where they left off pre-lockdown. So please plan ahead. Don't just, go to these social events with lots of family members who the child hasn't seen in an extended period. Let's break down situations into steps and try to set our children up for success. So thank you so much for everybody who has joined me today. That's my discussion of the day. I hope you found it useful. Please share any thoughts or comments in the any thoughts or anything that comes to mind in the comment section. Oh, I've actually seen quite a lot of comments. Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize oh my gosh, there are so many comments. Okay, I probably won't have time to go through all of these because I'm about to go to a virtual Easter egg hunt, which is very, very exciting. So I have to go in a second, but let me have a look at some of these comments. Oh, someone from Melbourne, Australia is joining us. That's great. Someone says that her child has thrived in social isolation and lockdown. Someone says my son is the happiest at home. Someone says my son hated the video links with the class but loved lockdown where he didn't have to leave the house. Yeah. Yeah, there's some lovely messages. Somebody said, how can we, my son doesn't want to go out as much as he did and doesn't want to engage in activities. And this makes sense. It really, really does make sense. So how can we, if our child used to love going to the adventure playground or the park, and now that is scary, it really makes sense because, even it's interesting how we adapt to, as humans, we adapt to our current situation. Like even myself, I was thinking, oh gosh, meeting up with loads of friends, it actually feels a bit scary, which is very strange. But we've now got so comfortable with being inside and not having that social contact. It is even scary, I think, for everybody, or maybe not scary, but a bit uncomfortable because we're so used to this bubble we've now been in. So even me, I was thinking, small steps plan. Maybe I'll meet up with just one friend and then another friend and then maybe two friends, take it step by step. So in the same way, we want to apply this to our children as well. So, if your child used to love going to the adventure playground or the park and now they're saying, I don't want to, we know that avoidance actually feeds the fear. And the more that we don't do something, the scarier it gets. So it is difficult, but we want to find that fine balance where we say, I know you don't want to really go to the park. I know you don't really want to do this, but how about if we go when it's really quiet, and we just go for 5 minutes and we just go there. We don't have to go into all the hustle and the bustle, but why don't we just go to the grassy area away from everybody first? So we want to, in a small steps way, start to gradually expose our children to the outside world in a way that is manageable for them. So they do it and they think, that wasn't as bad as I thought. And then we do a little bit more next time. So it's all about figuring out what can your child handle, starting there and practicing in small steps. Thank you so much for all your comments. Oh, it's so lovely to, I'll have to look through all of these. That's lovely. Thank you so much. It's so lovely to see all your comments and have so many of you join me. Oh my goody gosh, it's 10 past 1 p.m, which means my virtual Easter egg hunt is starting soon with my friends. So I've got to go. But I hope you all have a lovely Easter, and I hope you have some time just to reflect on what we've discussed today and just have a think about how we can reintroduce our children back into the world in a way that will set them up for success. And I really hope that one day we'll have a world where our children won't feel happier being away from. I really hope we'll have a world where people will be more understanding, more non-judgmental, and just to create that non-pressured world. But that is very ambitious. So in the meantime, we can create a non-pressured environment around your child. and we can actively brief family members, family friends, school staff on how to create that non-pressured environment. Okay, sending you all lots of love and have a lovely Easter, and I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye.